Words are wonderful things, aren't they? We use them for so many reasons. We use them to describe things. We use them to explain things. We use them to talk about our wants, our needs, our desires, or we just use them for everything we want. We have a rich and robust language. Thousands and thousands and thousands of words. I mean, we've come a long way from the pointing and grunting, have we not? Although sometimes, some of us find our way back there occasionally. But we use words to describe things in the world. We use them to describe objects, and we use them to describe situations, circumstances, and events, and emotions, and feelings, and attitudes, and ideas. The words I want to talk about today are just the words that have to deal with color. I mean, the title of my talk is The Many Colors of Life and the One Color of Truth. So we got lots and lots and lots of colors to choose from. And colors everywhere. We get to enjoy it every minute of our lives. Even those of us who are colorblind, as some of you know, it's not that we don't see color, it's that we just see it a little bit differently than you, but it's still this vast array of color. If you think there isn't color everywhere, look around. We get blue shirts and black shoes and purple scarves. And out in the parking lot, we've got red and blue and green and orange cars. That sounded kind of Christmassy, huh? On a black asphalt parking lot. So we got lots of them, but we don't use the colors, the words that identify the colors, only just to say there's a red ball, there's an orange balloon. We use them for so many other reasons. So we not only get to enjoy the colors of the things we see, but we get to enjoy the use of the concept of those colors in our daily living also. For example, I could stand up here and talk a blue streak about primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors, mixing colors, choosing colors, using colors for design and decoration. I'm not going to do that. But I'm pretty certain that when I said I could talk a blue streak about it, which is different than cursing a blue streak, by the way, for you ex-military and teenage boys. But everybody knew what I was talking about. It just means I'm going to kind of talk fast and furiously about something without hardly stopping to take a breath, and certainly not stopping long enough for you to get a word in. But that's how we use color, right? I could stand here and talk about something that maybe you didn't agree with, and I could talk till I'm blue in the face, and everybody knows what that means too, how interminably boring I'm going to be, and how I'm just not going to stop until I exhaust every possible persuasive technique I have to get you to come to my way of thinking. So these are the colors that we live within. These are the colors of life, aren't they? The colors of the world are colors that we see in different objects and things. The colors of life are those colors that we bring to life by way of using our descriptive colors that way. And there's lots more of them. You know, because the season is just over, but if talking about something was an Olympic sport, we would want to bring home the gold, right? Or if it was something that we could enter into the county fair, we'd want to bring home the blue ribbon. And of course, we're going to hang it on the wall of that newly refurbished, redecorated, repainted little tiny room with the crib in it. That's painted blue, by the way. And everybody knows that's because the baby is going to be a boy. Unless there, was some confusion with the sonogram. And then we're going to really scramble to repaint that room pink. But when we use colors of life as opposed to colors of things. We're painting those verbal mental pictures. And there's lots of other examples, by the way. I mean, if I said that somebody was red in the face, we know there might be a little blush to their face, but it's certainly not a deep red. That just means that they're so angry to the point of rage, maybe, that they're going to explode. You ever seen a bullfight? You know, the cape that that bully with the sword holds in front of the bull? Did you know bulls are colorblind? As in, they can't see any color, not just a different color. Bulls do not see color. So the purpose of that cape is for the movement of it. It's not for the color. It's colored red so that the blood that squirts out of the bull splashes on it, and it doesn't look quite so bad to the spectators who are buying those $20 10-ounce glasses of beer. Or we could say, if you're an accountant, we don't want to be in the red. We want to be in the black. Now, does that make any sense? Well, it does in that, you know, in when you're writing out that balance sheet, it used to be that you use red ink for a negative income because that jumped right out at you. But most of the times, the colors that we talk about don't have that real basis in really actually use them as that. And I don't know where I got that from. I think it just came out of the blue. Did it really come out of the blue? No, it was just a way of saying that was like a non-local synchronous experience where for the briefest moment my soul intersected with the soul of the divine, bringing to me that thought, that concept, that idea that I was looking for at the time. And of course, those thoughts, ideas, and concepts, as well as colors, as well as everything else, come to us from that same one power and presence, one divine energy from which all things come and within which all things live and move and have their being. We call this God. And there's nothing outside of this. I even hate to use that term outside of, because outside of makes it sound like there's some kind of a boundary. There is no boundary. There is no circumference. There's no boundary. There's no end. This consciousness that grounds our being, this life that we are part of, is endless, boundless, it's eternal, and it's infinite. You know, Ernest Holmes, founder of Science of Mind, said, and we all always quote it all the time because it was so great. He said, there is one life, that life is God. Then he went on to say that life is perfect, that life is my life. Now, and that's true, but that's not the part I want to talk about right this moment. And very often, when we hear that phrase, it's misquoted. Sometimes people say there is one life, that life is God's life. No. God does not have a life. God is life. And that's an important distinction. The difference between being all being and being a being. We are a beings within that divine allness. And we pull all of our power, all of our presence, all of everything that makes us up, that constitutes the very essence of our soul and our heart and our spirit and our body, we pull that from this divine energy we call God, spirit, life, nature. Call it what you want. So do we use them in any other way, colors? Because I want to get back to that, because that was kind of fascinating to me. Because we got lots and lots and lots of colors to choose from. Pink's not only a baby girl, right? If we said we're into pink, I'm just feeling good. Everything's going my way. Everything's flowery. Everything's great. But then I can get back to red where I'm embarrassed, maybe, besides being angry. And red also signifies passion and It's a stop sign. Stop. Danger. And of course, let us not forget, some of us are just good old red-blooded Americans. As if there were any other kind of blood in Americans. Well, wait a minute, no, because if you want to give claim to that lineage of nobility, royalty, aristocracy, then we're blue bloods, are we not? But look how we paint life with those things. Green. I could be green with envy. Or if I told you you're looking a little green around the gills, if you weren't already, you're going to start feeling a little poorly. Or if I said, yeah, just green. Just give me the green. Well, we all know that means throw the credit card out, forget your checkbook. This is cash, or as the red-blooded Americans used to say, cash on the barrelhead. But we color our life with so many different things like this. And I don't even want to get into that. Yes, I do. I want to get into that thing about black and white. Especially into those, well, dare I say, embedded. No, I better not say. But we do say, if I told you we're going to watch a cowboy movie and the first guy that rides on the screen has a white hat on, he's the good guy. When the other guy shows up with the black hat on, we know that's evil. He's the bad guy. So we use it for a lot. And all of these colors have to come from somewhere. In order for us to get to use them in our descriptive, flowery, maybe speech, they have to come from somewhere. Well, we know that they come from God because all things do, as we just talked about. But how do they do that? Well, it turns out before I get to that, I want to go back to the color for just a second. Because I just realized that I had heard about this gentleman who went to the doctor, and he said, "Doctor, I went into the kitchen last night, paused the TV, I went into the kitchen and I grabbed a few bottles of, well, what I thought were those little things of booze, that I had left over from my airline flight, and I drank them all down. And then when I finally turned the light on, the movie was over, I realized that that's not what it was at all. They were actually bottles of food coloring." And the doctor says, "Well, you're going to be okay." And the man says, "Yeah, but I just feel like I died a little inside." You weren't expecting this to happen without some sort of corny joke, were you? Where were we? God only knows. So, here's a surprising fact. Physicists generally agree that objects in the world, things in the world, do not have color in and of themselves. The quality that we call color is not actually a part, physically, of the makeup of anything. So what happens is light shines, gets to an object, and light travels in varying frequencies. Some of those frequencies get absorbed by the object, hence they're not seen. Others don't get absorbed, they get reflected off the object. And when those reflections, those light reflections bounce off the objects, they hit the cones in the back of our eyes and in our retinas, and that's where we perceive color. So what they're saying really is there isn't any actual physical thing as color in the universe. Color is something that we perceive, generate, make, create in our minds. Well, in our eyes, but it goes to our minds. And yeah, I don't understand the science of that completely, and I don't know whether that's true or not. You know about physicists, they told us, never trust an atom. They make up everything. These are the same guys that are telling us that the color's not really there, it's here. But to me, it doesn't make any difference where the color is. It matters not to me whether the color is actually in the object or whether the color is just a perception in my brain. Either way, that color, those colors, all colors, are gifts to me from God. And I don't care how they show up. Does it matter? We get to enjoy these magnificent colors, every possible hue. You know, there's even colors that they say we can't see with the human eye. And I believe that. I mean, who of us knew that you could hear sounds in the air? Who of us knew there was electricity in the air? There are colors that we don't even get to see. But the ones we do get to see are marvelous, and they create a really vivid world for us. So they come as gifts of God, whether they're actually part of the object or whether they're created by our brain. And that's just another example of how we do create. We co-create. We are made in the image and likeness of God. God, the Creator. All things are created by that one universal mind. The difference between us having volition, having free will, having choice, and animals, fish, birds, insects, objects who don't have that is we have volition. We get to choose. We get free will. We get to create these things. And even though we don't consciously create this thing called color, it's still one of the many things that we get to create specifically because that's one of the many, 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 many gifts that we receive every hour of every day from our divine source. They're gifts. That means they're free. You've seen the ads that say free gift. Well, hello. What other kind of gift is there? We build in redundant measurements in our marketing world. But these gifts come to us unearned and undeserved from the human's perspective. Do they not? We don't have to do anything to get them. We don't even have to show up. We just do show up. We just are created. We are here. And by divine nature, simply by the fact of being here at all, we get these gifts. They're just given to us. It's a bountiful universe. It's an abundant universe. Nothing we could ever possibly need or want is not available to us when we come to that well, if you will, of availability. It's all about how we access the good that is ours by divine birthright. Young Curtis Hopkins says, there's good for me and I ought to have it. And there is. There's good for each of us and for all of us, and we ought to have it. How much of it ought we to have? As much as we want, as much as we can access, as much as we can embody and assimilate. So we can come to this well of divinity with a thimble and carry off a thimbleful. Or we can come with a bucket. We can carry off a bucket full. Or, I'm thinking, we could hook up an IV to it. We could create a canal, a channel directly from this abundance, this endless, limitless, eternal, infinite bundle of everything possible we could ever want, and we could just channel it right into ourselves all the time. Of course, the master teacher Jesus did that, did he not? So it's not as if it can't be done. We've been shown how to do it. We just need to adjust our perception so that the colors that light our life light us spiritually also. So that's a lot about the many colors of life. What about the one color of truth? What color could that be? Wait, I think I have an idea. Do you know that you can't see color in the dark? In the dark, you can't see color. That's why, when when we're in the world and we're on the opposite side of that which is facing the sun and there is no sunlight, we can't see color. Now, as the world turns a little bit and some low light comes in, then we can begin to make out shapes. But we still can't see color. It takes light to see color. Doesn't have to be the sunlight, by the way. We have artificial light. You just flip a switch and it comes on. But until we shine that light, we don't get to see any color. And where does the light come from? This is easy. It's the light of God. Whether it's in the form of artificial light, which we co-created with God, or whether it's in the form of natural light, which surrounds us for a large part of the day. And because it's the light rays that either are absorbed or rebounded, reflected off of objects that give us that perception of color, it must be that the color of light is the color of truth. So whatever color light is to you, hopefully it's a light color, but light itself is the color of truth, because all colors come from light. All colors are contained within light. And without light, there is no color at all. So the question is, how do we shine the light of spiritual principles on our world to make it reflect the divinity that we are? Because it's all about reflection and it's all about light. And in the same manner that we receive the light from God, we also have the ability to intake that, to assimilate it and radiate it forth onto our world. And it's this spiritual principles that allow us to do that. So how do we illumine our world with spiritual principles? Well, we do it with spiritual practices. Meditation, prayer, affirmations, being of service. As Master Teacher said, we only have two things we really need to do. And the one is to love the Lord God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind. And the other is to love your neighbor as yourself. So we reflect that light by way of reflecting it through the love that we are, the love that we have, the love that we are imbued with, the love of the Creator. And this has to be done daily. It should be done in every now moment. Something we need to be clear about is this. Coming to church on Sunday, for 1 hour a week, doesn't make us spiritual any more than going to the garage makes you a car. I mean, it's the idea of the constant, conscious choice to deal from love, to spread the light, to shed that light on our world and allow those many colors to come forth. So I just invite you as you go forth from here to allow that to happen. Don't just see the color, be the color. Don't just enjoy the color, create the color. Love the color, live the color. Because that color is light, and light is the color of truth. Thanks for listening.